Okay, YouTubers, space detectives, paranoia police, quasi-scientific people that deny life on all planets apart from Earth, you're all welcome. Today we're looking at this image, which is PIA 23240. This was a recent one that NASA put up on their main site, and I saw that and I thought, well, that's nice, let's have a quick look at that. And I thought, wow, there's some interesting stuff in here now. It was taken on Sol 2405, so there'll be a link to this. You can download the rather large TIFF, which is 275 meg, and the JPEG, which is nearly 10. The JPEG's pretty good. It's not full clarity, but it's not far off it. So both images are good. So there was that. I've also got a page up here from Sol 2405. Now this is the set of images that selfie was compiled from. Unfortunately, these are all upside down because this is taken on the Mali cam. Now the Mali cam is the one on the arm, and it's really designed for taking sort of close-up shots of things on the ground. But now and again, it takes landscape stuff as well, and it's a nice resolution, and the images are not downgraded much. I think they're pretty much 90 or 95% quality. They're good. Okay, and there's apart from a few little glitches and bits of dirt on the camera, these are very good images. This is what the Mali cam usually takes photos of here, drilling into the ground and that kind of thing. Okay, but these are good, but you've got to flip them round. You've got to rotate them 180 degrees to the left if you're going to bother with these. The other option is, of course, just to download this, but you will not get quite as much detail out of this, because it has been downgraded slightly. Okay, so let's crack on with it. There's a lot to get through here. Let's get the folders up. Now, let's get that image up first. This is the main selfie. Now, this is good detail. We don't often get them in this sharp, clear detail that we got here. And you can zoom right in and it looks really good. You can see all the details of the equipment on board, the various different cameras. You've got the camera, the mass cam up here. This is the main camera. The arm cam has been edited out. What they've done here is the arm cam is looking down on the rover. Okay, so it'll be sticking up here like a selfie stick, looking back at the rover. You can just about make out some of it here, sticking up here, and it's been kind of edited out, some of it. Okay, so this is where the camera would be, but we're looking back at the rover and then into the background here. One thing I did notice straight away is when you zoom right in to this image, it looks like whoever compiled it has edited the background and smudged or blurred all the way along the horizon, along this mountain here. In fact, if you follow the image from one side to the other, it's been blurred from this end here all the way along to the other end, up here. It's not as obvious up here, but you can see it. You can see where it's been blurred there, because you've got the grain. If I go right in close, you've got the grain of the sky there, which are normal pixels. Then we have this blurred area, and then we come back down, and we start to see normal grain again. In fact, it's more obvious over this side, because I can demonstrate it on this darker part of the mountain here. You can see it really clearly there. If I zoom right in, there's all the normal pixels in the sky, which are a mixture of kind of yellows and blues and different shades there. And we got the normal sort of brownish pixels here for the mountain. And then we have this smudged area. In fact, I worked out the actual size of the blur tool is a size 12, okay? Because this is 12 and it fits perfectly. So they've gone all the way along this edge, all the way along here at the back, and all the way along here, right from one end to the other, with a blur tool. Now, why they would do that, I have no idea. There's absolutely no need for it. There isn't actually a lot of detail to be seen up here anyway, so I don't think they're actually trying to hide anything there. But I thought that was rather strange. This is the most obvious case I've seen of it in recent years, where they've deliberately kind of blurred stuff out. But we do know that NASA do that, and they have been caught doing it before. Well, that's another story. Okay, so when you look at the image, there's a really nice kind of shot of this part here with what looks like a shipwreck here. Now, I've done videos on this before. In fact, I've got one up here. I'm not going to show you it now. I'm just going to show you the one to look up. It's called Water, Shipwreck and Alien Building Complex on Mars. And it shows this from further back, but actually from further away, you can see it in better definition, and you can actually make out the shapes of it slightly better from this angle. This was taken from much further back, but zoomed in, okay? I'll show you a tiny clip of that now. There we are. There's the enhanced image. I've really darkened it there, and you can actually see these shapes. This is an intelligent structure. Now, it may not be a ship, but it's an intelligent structure which is in ruins and half buried. It looks ship-shaped. Doesn't mean it's an actual ship, of course, but to me it looks like one. And you've got these kind of square parts to it here. You've got this part sticking up here. You've got another square there. It's crazy, and it goes right along. This is extremely large. This is something like 400 to 500, possibly more feet long. Probably more than 500 feet long. Okay, that just gives you an rough idea of scale. I don't know exactly how big it is because we've never been given a ruler for this one, a ruler guide, but it could actually be even bigger. Okay, so there's that. So you can check that out. I'll put a quick link to that up in the corner or at the end of the video as well. There'll be a card link to that as well, so you can check that out. Well worth looking at. There's one or two other shots of this in videos I've done after this as well, which are worth looking at. I'll put links to one of those as well. Okay, when you zoom in over here, you've got all these buttes here. They're called buttes. Some of them are actually not just natural structures, as I have demonstrated before in previous videos. But there's some weird stuff here, and I spotted this thing which looks like a house. Okay, now it doesn't look much here, so what you've got to do is take a clip and enlarge it and then play with the brightness as I've done. And I've got some clips here. Okay, now I'm going to show you these clips, and then I'm going to show you the clips I've taken from a higher res little GigaPan I've done myself, and there is quite a miraculous difference in the quality. Okay, so here's the raw clip first of that. Okay, it's really hard to see, it's very blurry, it's very soft focus, there's no definition, but you can see that shape. Okay, it's like an apex roof shape like you would see on a house. Okay, there we are. Doesn't look much. Let me show you the enhanced one here. Okay, there we are. You can see it really clearly. You can see that triangle there. This isn't a natural structure. A lot of these buttes are actually manufactured, or at least partially. Okay, in other words, they have entrances. Some of them have skylights. Some of them have windows and other features. And some of them are actually apex like this. Most of them are kind of heavily eroded and damaged. Let me show you another clip of that from there. It doesn't get very clear, this, because it's too far away. So what I did is I played with the contrast and pushed the brightness up as well. Here's a close-up, and it's gone very kind of yellowy and weird up there. But when you push the contrast up, of course, the colours also go up and can get quite gaudy and weird. But you can see some interesting detail there, but not enough for my liking. So what I did is I went back through my archives and looked up some other stuff I've got of the same spot, and I found this set of images that I did a while ago, which I've never published, and I was kind of waiting for the rover to move around and get another view of this, just to confirm what I'd already found. And this is from Sol 2299. Okay, so this was taken a while before the image I just showed you. Okay, and I've done a sort of GigaPan of it here, and I'm just going to show you a clip of that in here. So what I did, I've taken I made a little GigaPan of this area, of that building, but it's from the black and white set of images. Okay, from 2299, and here we have it, and you can't really see a lot until you add some contrast like this. It's gone really dark, it's gone brighter, brighter again, and brighter again. Okay, so this is how far you've got to go sometimes to push the detail out of these images. You've really got to push the contrast up, and then you can actually make out what you're looking at instead of kind of a weird smoky looking picture. You've got some real shapes and contours and definition. Okay, and there it is. Okay, it's got an apex kind of triangular part here, and it slopes down here, symmetrical either end. So we've got symmetry there, and it's kind of sat on top of this. Now, what this looks like to me is a buried structure, and the sand is kind of blown up against the bottom of it here, and this is just the very top of it. Like many of these things in Gale Crater, a lot of these buttes and domes and strange structures that we see, a lot of them are natural, but a lot of them aren't. And a lot of them are heavily buried. In fact, when you look over to this side, there's another one here. Now let me show you this first in that colour image, and hopefully my graphics card isn't going to freak out too much. Now you're not going to see a lot here because this is a bit vague. It's a long way off. This is probably about I would say about a mile away from the rover, this detail here. So we got a long line of interesting structures at the base of Mount Sharp. We got this interesting triangular one here. We go over to the left and we have that apex roof structure there. We could just about make it out there. Now there's this thing, okay? Now that looked to me, I thought, wow, that from this angle, this looks really odd. It looks like it's got wheels. We've got a sort of, what looks like a very, very large vehicle. Now, I don't think it is a large vehicle. I'm just saying it looks like one, right? And this is what happens when you have images that are downgraded. Often things can look quite different than they really do, because you're losing detail, there's hardly any definition, and not enough information there really to tell what it is. Is this why they do it? Maybe. But you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 what look like wheels along here. Now, let me show you it in here. Actually, I'll show you it in the other folder first. All right, you can see what look like a row of round structures all in a row there. Okay. Now, let me show you the enhanced version of that, which is much darker. There we are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and maybe another one there. It's trying to show another one there, but there's not quite enough. I think it's kind of sand blown up against it there, so there's not quite enough detail there. But you can see that. You can see what I'm trying to get across here. Now that looks pretty cool. But let's have a look at it in the black and white image, and then see what we can see, because this is actually higher definition. This is at 200 pixels per inch, whereas that big color image, the selfie image, is only 72 pixels, or yeah, 72 ppi, pixels per inch. So this is much higher detail here. And now it doesn't look like a set of wheels at all. So this is a fine example of what happens when you get downgraded images. You often see things that you think, oh wow, that's really interesting. And then later on, you look at a different image and you think, well, it's not even there. How could it change so much? Well, partially the light has changed. This is taken on a different day. About 100 days earlier, 106 days earlier. So the light's different, but it's the same spot. And those arch structures, which I think they are, don't look like wheels at all now. They just look like arches. One there, one there, one there, another one there, another one there, but they're not as clear. So let's go really dark and see if they stand out. Because I think there's something going on with this structure. They should start to stand out more. Now you can see them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, does this mean this is an artificial structure? No. But I think it is. And the reason why I think it's an artificial structure is because I've shown so many artificial structures in this area, this being one of them right here, that the chances are that some of these other ones probably are also. And just because they don't look immediately recognizable like this does, with an apex kind of roof, which looks very kind of like a roof you would see on a house. And in fact, there's a rectangular part inside it here, okay? You can see that? I don't know if you can see that. Let me draw that on. So let me draw around that for you. You got the apex shape here, okay, coming down like this, like a tent almost, tent shape, apex, triangle there. That is not natural, okay. And we got the edge coming down here, but there's kind of stuff kind of leaning up against it. You've got a corner there, and another corner here, but there's stuff leaning up against there. And we've got this ridge line in front obscuring it, okay, coming around like that. Right, now look in here carefully and you can see a rectangular window type thing, okay. I'm not saying it is a window. And also there's more detail here, okay. Just undo that so you can actually see what I'm showing you. Okay, can you see that now? Just there. Now, just to prove that I'm not making this up, what I'm going to do now is show you another GigaPan of this area, but not done by myself. Here we are. Now, this is by Neville Thompson. It's the same area, and we got this really cool GigaPan. Now, this is really dark, but because it's really dark, you can really see the shapes and contours of these structures. And you got the dunes at the back here. The rover kind of drove round from behind these dunes, and then into this valley lake bed here, and is driving across this lake bed and is looking back towards these structures over here. And we have the same structure in this image. Here we have that apex thing. Now this is even darker than I went, and you can still just about make it out, but you can see just here, you can see that rectangular window type thing there, okay. So this is done by Neville Thompson. Credit to him for this. Nice job. He's done lots of nice GigaPans. I've got another one up here from him as well. So we can see that in the GigaPan. So that proves that I haven't put it there, because someone else has done a GigaPan and it's also in theirs. And we also got this thing here with the arches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. The main ones here are much clearer. Very interesting. And there's some weird, interesting details up here on this thing. Very interesting. And this one here, this butte or dome, seems to have what looks like an entrance here, just here, as I have shown on others. Okay. So let's have a look at it in colour. We've got another GigaPan just here, also by Neville T. Here's the same area. Now we've got that apex roof thing. This is a bit pale. You're not going to see it in such good shadow here. The shadows really help. When you turn the contrast up, the shadows push out the shapes better and give these things more definition. You can see that apex triangle there, and in fact you can see a line coming down here and here of the edges of the building slightly better. Okay, you can see a line there and a line there and a line there, and there's the apex roof shape, and you can just about make out that hatch or window type thing just there, but it's a bit vague because this is actually probably from a lower quality photograph initially, and it's also not had as much contrast added to it, but you can see that butte thing with the arches there as well. Okay, but because it's brighter, you're not seeing as much of the actual shapes and contours as much. Very interesting stuff. You don't have to be an expert at Photoshop or anything like that. I don't even use Photoshop. Yeah, you go in nice and dark like this and you really start to see some crazy stuff in here and some amazing details. It's really well worth a look. So I can recommend that. So as I said, I don't even use Photoshop. This is PaintShop Pro 9, which is years old. This is a really old program, but it's free. And if you get my free app that's in the description, there's a link to it, you can download it for free, and it's perfectly good. It's quite primitive, but it's perfectly good for this sort of basic contrast enhancement stuff like I do, and just taking basic clips and that kind of thing. Okay, it's not amazing, but it doesn't have to be, because we're not faking anything here. We're just doing basic clips like this, you know, just a basic clip, and then you clip it and then just add some contrast. That's all you got to do. So there we are. Now the other thing that caught my eye, now I'm not sure about this, the other thing that caught my eye is right over the other side of the image on this mountainous part here, on the lower slopes of Mount Sharp, we have this here. Now this doesn't make a lot of visual sense, but it looks like a massive carved head on the side of this mountain. Okay, now before I show you the clips I've taken, I'm just going to draw around it just to give you a rough idea what I'm trying to say here. Let's make that a bit smaller. Right, okay, we've got a face here, or a head. There's the chin. Okay, there's an eye there, and there's another eye here, and there's the nose, and there's a mouth. Okay, now that's very crude, and I've done it with a brush that's way too thick. So what I'll do is I'll show you the clips I've taken. This is a raw clip. Now this is quite close in, but you can see, without me doing anything to this, you can see where they've blurred the top of the ridge there with the blur brush, okay, or soften tool, or they've used the size 12 soften or blur brush or something, custom brush or something like that. They've gone all the way along there. You can actually see that quite clearly in the image where they blurred it. And then here we've got 2 eyebrows, we've got 2 eyes, we've got a nose here, we've got the shape of the cheekbones coming down and the chin here, okay? It's a bit hard to make out because not everyone can see these things straight away. Now I've gone brighter, added some shadow, more shadow and contrast, and more brightness. Now it's got a funny kind of brownish orange colour, but there we have it. You've got what looks like a big carved face on the side of the mountain. Now, of course, this may just be a trick of light and shadow, and it's very easy to see faces in some of these images, especially when they've been sort of downgraded slightly and blurred and they're out of focus. Your mind can play a lot of tricks on you. I do appreciate that. So I'm not saying this is a carved head, but it looks like it's an elongated head, like some of the ones I found on the ground, coming right back to here, okay? Going right round with a sort of ear there or something, or wearing a helmet or something, like some of the actual things I found on the ground. And the eye detail is pretty crazy. Even once you know it's there, even in the raw clip, let's show the raw clip again, you can see that eye just there, with a pupil just there, okay? You see that? The top eyelid there, when it comes round. The other eye's a bit more vague, and you can see the nose there, okay, and the mouth here. And let's look at the finished one again, and I'll show you what I mean. There we are. And there's even teeth detail here. Okay? Absolutely crazy. So there we are. That was interesting. Don't even know if it's real. It's probably just a trick of light, but it may not be. As I have shown many, many times before, a lot of these things turn out to be real, and there are hundreds of statues and specimens that I found on the ground in this area. They seem to have been very obsessed with heads and skulls and statues and art of that type. And there are a lot of these buttes, a lot of the smaller structures like this weird apex house thing, are probably burial chambers. This may have had a mound over the top of it. It may have been buried in mud and sand at some point, and that may have eroded away, revealing the tomb structure inside, okay? Now, a lot of these are natural, but I really don't think all of them are. I really do think a lot of these are actually burial chambers or burial mounds. Some of them may actually be actual military bunkers of some sort. This probably was a dock area. And a lot of these structures, when you look at them, are all lined up, all these butte structures. Here we are. When you see a lot of these structures lined up like this, let's go full screen with that. It's very unusual to see these things in nature where they're lined up in such a way. What you normally get with buttes is you'll get one sort of over here, then where you've got a river or something, and then the tidal forces will erode the rocks away, and you get another one, say, further along, and they're usually offset. These are in rows, okay? And this is, not, I think, a sign of artificiality. And a lot of these are really crazy structures, and this one especially, out of all these, I think is really interesting because we got that apex shape to it. And just because they're mound shapes and they're not all square buildings like we have on Earth does not mean they're not buildings. As I've shown in many videos before, which I will link to in a minute, the buildings on Mars, many of them are dome shaped. They're not square. They're not rectangular necessarily. They are dome shaped, and they look like natural topography until you get up close and you start looking at some of the details, and you see they have things like entrances and windows and strange rows of arches along them, okay? Please go along to my new channel, Space Detective 1. I'm almost up to about 700 subs on there now. I want to get it to 1,000 if I can in the next few days, if that's possible. So even if you're new to this channel, go along to Space Detective 1. There is a link in the description, and there'll be a link at the end of this video when the card links come up, there'll be a link to that, so you can sub to the channel. Okay, it'd be much appreciated if you do that, because I'm trying to get this spare channel up and running so that if something goes wrong with my main channel, there's always going to be an archive of all these pictures and videos for everyone to look at, okay, for the public record. Okay, so thanks for watching, everybody. Please like and subscribe. See you soon.